look at every sphere of life, you find that things have changed. And a lot of it is because how information is being used for the betterment of people. If you look at where we are now in the 21st century, data is ubiquitous. Data and information, it's being continuously captured, created, analyzed, and going forward, there's immense opportunity to use some of the newer methods in AI and related areas to improve the quality of our lives. This requires a new breed of specialists. And that's where the DAI program comes in. We're looking at a very multidisciplinary program where students learn a lot of fundamentals of computing, engineering, and design so that they can come up with products, services, and systems that will intensively make use of information and data to make our lives a lot better. Now, a unique feature of the DAI program is its 4 AI-driven design studios, where students undergo hands-on experiential learning, working on real-world data through company-sponsored design projects. These design studios cut across a range of design domains, covering product, service, systems, and spatial design. Our new DAI programs aims to nurture a new generation of designers and innovators who can transform the way we live by creating better design through AI. My name is Professor Ashraf Qasim. I'm the Program Director for the DAI program. Now, if you want to harness the power of AI to tackle both present and future challenges, join us. Welcome everyone to the live session of this event, where we look forward to sharing with you more details about the Design and Artificial Intelligence program before we proceed to an exciting panel dialogue session, following which we look forward to answering all the burning questions that you may have about SUTD's newest program, the Design AI program. Before we proceed, it's my pleasure to introduce to you the distinguished members of our panel, who comprise colleagues from industry and academia, who are experts and practitioners of AI, who will share more about themselves. So let me start with myself. I'm Ashraf Qasim, professor with the DAI program and associate provost of SUTD. I've been extensively working on video processing and image analysis using computer vision, machine learning, deep learning, and other methods to design solutions for solving problems in the medical domain, like analyzing medical images, as well as in the industry and manufacturing domains. So let me introduce my panel members. On my extreme right is Professor Lu Wei of the Design and Artificial Program, and also Associate Head of the Information Systems Technology and Design Pillar. Prof. Lu Wei.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lu Wei. I'm currently an associate professor from ISTD pillar. My research is on natural language processing and machine learning. And in ISTD, I also teach NLP and machine learning. So nice to meet you guys.
Thank you, Lu Wei. Next, it's my next to Prof. Lu Wei is Dr. Fred Hirsch of Google AI Healthcare Asia Pacific. Fred?
Thank you, and nice to virtually meet everyone here. Thank you for that introduction. So I'm Dr. Fred Hirsch. I work with Google Health here in Asia Pacific. I mean, my background is in business and information technology initially, and then retrained in medicine and public health, and have spent the better part of the last 2 decades or so really working on how do we harness technology to improve access to high quality healthcare for all. And I think very excited about the opportunities that AI has, and we're going to talk about that today and the role that design plays. And in my work today, I really work at that intersection of how do we take AI technologies and make them or translate them into real-world clinical impact in healthcare. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hirsch. Next, on my right is Dr. Max Chen Wang, the lead data scientist at the Consumer Banking Group of DBS Bank. Dr. Wang?
Hello, everyone. I'm Max Wang Chen from DBS. I'm very glad to be here in an SUTT to share some of my experiences about AI in the banking industry today. So something about my background, so I got my bachelor degree in mechatronics from Harbin Institute of Technology. Then I got my master's degree in robotics. Right, so you can see people with a different background can also work on AI. So after that, I got my PhD in robust optimization from NUS. So after that, I continue my research in SMA, Texas A&M University, as Singapore Management University. So finally, in 2015, I turned into the dark side. I joined SAP first as a data scientist. Then I joined Visa. So finally, I'm in DBS now. So currently, I'm the lead data scientist of DBS Singapore Consumer Banking Group. So taking care of all the AI-related project. So later, I think I can share something in more detail with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wang, for shining a light from the dark side. So as you can see, we have our colleagues here from industry, and as students of the Design Artificial Intelligence program, there'll be a lot of opportunities to engage directly with industry on real-life solutions. So now let me introduce my next, the colleague sitting on my left, Dr. Edwin Koh, who's also with the Design and AI program. And he will also provide more details about our program going forward. So perhaps we can invite Dr. Koh to say a little bit more about himself.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Edwin Koh. I'm a senior lecturer at the DAI program and the EPD pillar. So I'll be moderating the panel discussions later as well. So good to be here today. Now, we've seen the exciting video on DAI earlier, and it shows us some exciting examples of what our students will be involved in. So in the next few minutes, what I'm going to do is to share with you some details regarding the DAI curriculum. And at the same time, you can also send in your questions through the live Q&A button on the right of the screen. So our mission at DAI is to produce a new generations of designers and innovators that can transform the way we live through better design with AI. There are a few features unique to the DAI program. Firstly, we'll have 4 AI-driven design studios that will take place in the second and third year of the program. These studios allows our students to have hands-on experiential learning on real-world issues through company-sponsored projects. Now, I will talk a bit more about these studios later. Our students will also be exposed to a range of business subjects so that they can better understand the importance of value creation. They will also take courses in humanities, arts, and social sciences for a well-rounded education. And depending on their interests, our students will have the flexibility to take on additional courses in any of those topics mentioned through electives. So I mentioned about the AI-driven design studios earlier. So basically, DAI students will be given a chance to learn how to design products, services, systems, and the built environment through a series of studio courses. So in doing so, our students will have a holistic understanding of design that cuts across traditional design domains. So for example, in the product design studios, students will be working on a physical product, which perhaps could be an unmanned vehicle. So in such a project, students will get to learn and apply their knowledge in AI and sensors for, let's say, collision avoidance. Students will also be learning AI tools such as generative design to help them auto-generate new designs. Now, in the service design studios, students will be working on an app or a web-based service, for instance, an e-commerce platform. So in such a project, students will be able to learn and apply AI techniques such as machine learning for sales recommendations or to auto-generate website banners through AI tools. So you can see that by the end of the whole process, before graduations, our students would have a portfolio of AI-driven design projects that they can showcase to their employers. Now, this is a quick overview of the courses to be taken by DAI students. For the first year, all the courses are foundational courses to be taken by all SUTD students. And they cover a broad range of topics from modeling and modeling and analysis to design thinking and innovation. DAI courses starts from the second year onwards. An example of the courses are applied machine learning, where students will be learning AI tools such as neural network and deep learning. There's also a course on AI applications in design, where students will learn about design theory and how to use AI to support design. There's also a course on human-computer interaction and design, where students will learn about human memory and attention and how to design for positive human experience. So with all these courses, our students would have a strong foundation to embed AI in what they are designing and also to apply AI to help them design. So further information can be found on our official website. Upon graduation, our students will be awarded a Bachelor of Science in Design and Artificial Intelligence. Now, the focus on AI, coupled with credentials in design, will make our graduates very attractive to industry. Just to give you a rough flavor, these are the potential career paths for our graduates: AI engineers, business analyst, user experience designer, and many more. So with this, I think it's a good time for us to transit into our panel discussions to learn more about the current trends and future trends of design and AI. And today, we're very fortunate to have a very good mix of panel speakers from academia and from industry, with backgrounds that comes from banking services, healthcare, computer vision, and natural language processing. So I think the panels today will be very informative and useful for us to better understand the different facets and possibilities of design and AI. So once again, thank you everyone for joining us today. Now, when it comes to design and AI, both terms are often open to interpretations. So for example, when I think about design, I think about a process of understanding users' needs, of generating solutions, evaluating solutions. And some of these solutions themselves might involve AI. So that's one way of looking at it. Another way of looking at it would be using AI to help us design. Using AI to identify user needs, using AI to generate and evaluate solutions. So I think just to get us on the same page and set the context for our discussions later, perhaps we can go around the panel to share your views about what is using AI and design. So perhaps we can start with Professor Ashra, please.
Okay, thanks, Edwin. So in many of, I can sort of, relate to a problem that I had been involved in before in industry, for example, where there's heavy involvement of people to do various processes. And many of these processes are repetitive. So in a way, AI is coming in to actually simplify and make the processes more repeatable and precise and so on. And this involves understanding what needs to be done by the human, what had been done by the human, and coming up with processes that can do that more efficiently, more repetitively, and make things a little bit more effective for the organizations that are involved in the manufacturing process. Thank you.
I think from the banking industry perspective, AI in design means two things here. So first thing is AI. So I think for DBS, AI first means data. Right? So you can see data first. So you need to collect the data. Because everything is data driven. So from data, so it's about how to capture the data, what data to capture, and how you use the data to analyze the customer behavior to predict the customer needs. So this is about AI. For design, right? So for DBS, design really means how to improve the customer experience, how to improve a journey. Because DBS, so banking, the products are very kind of fixed, so don't really change too much. So maybe it will change for the cars in the future. Maybe cars could be different. But right now it's all about the customer experience. So let me give you an example. So for example, we have Payla, right? So we have Payla app, and in Payla, you can split a bill. So you can request money from others. So one of our project is to build a predictive model to predict who have the propensity to split the bill, right? So after doing some analysis, we see there are quite clear customer profiles. So basically two group of people. One is young student. The other one is young administrative staff, right? Then we build a propensity model to predict who have the high propensity. And we have another model predict the threshold, right? So you can see for different people, maybe the threshold are different, right? So using this, probably we can improve the customer experience. So the time you pay a meal bill using your credit card, then you receive a message so saying, you just pay this meal bill, it seems quite large. Do we want to share this with the other people, right? So who have the meal with you? So I think in this way, the customer experience is improved, and so the customer may have a better experience and have a good impression of a DBS. So that is how we use AI in design in DBS.
Great, thanks. I think it's a really great question, and the way that you framed it, thinking about, is it design, is it, is it designed to understand problems? Is it how AI helps design? So I would say, from my perspective, I really think about design as being really an essential process of innovation. It's a methodology, and it's really about understanding problems. Understanding problems, and then obviously, as you pointed out, very much like thinking about our end users, understanding those needs, and following through to really kind of understand how technology potentially addresses that problem, right? So it's a critical piece of kind of innovation and innovation thinking. I think it's really interesting because, AI, as it becomes, used and adopted much more widely, it gives us insight into problems, or it helps us to identify things that we probably might have missed otherwise. And I think you gave a good example of that, kind of helping to be able to, through data and through kind of deep analysis of data, we're now able to identify different groups of users who we then might want to apply our design methodology to really understand and dig into what those problems are, so that we can build effective solutions. In healthcare, we apply design thinking, throughout the whole process, but particularly I think about how do we translate AI technologies into real-world clinical impact. And obviously healthcare obviously involves a lot of interaction between different types of healthcare professionals and patients or services. And we really want to understand the existing workflows. We want to understand, like, what are the pain points, so that we can really maximize the value of the technology and the value of the innovation that AI offers.
Okay, thanks for the thanks for the nice sharing. Maybe I can share a bit from a researcher or maybe an educator's perspective, right? So I'm working on AI research. I'm actually not a researcher on design space, but I'm working on researching artificial intelligence. So my view is design is almost everywhere in my research process. So for example, when you have a real problem you want to solve, right? So the first natural question you may want to ask is, how do I design a model to solve this problem, right? And how do I design the experiments, right? And when it comes to writing the paper, how do I design the structure of the paper, right? So these are all the design, involve some design thinking process here, right? So AI for design, to me, is really to think of how to automate this kind of process, right? So for example, is it possible to use data to help us to basically find new research ideas or find new models, right? And that's for my perspective as a researcher. As for an educator, my perspective is, when we teach our students, we need to design our modules. We need to design the curriculum, for example, and the structure of the course, right? So it'll be nice if we can actually use AI to help us here, right? So for example, if we can actually get timely feedback from the students, right, in the form of data to help us to improve the next round of a particular course, that would be very exciting. Yeah.
Right, thank you. So we're having this session online, and it's really difficult not to talk about the current pandemic. So I was wondering how did the pandemic affect industry, and in terms of practices, and how might design AI help? Maybe we can start with industry perspective with Max and Fred, and then later on we will also go to my colleagues to see what kind of academic research can help in this area. So Max, please.
Okay. So I think COVID-19 really changed our life, and also changed some of the customer behaviors, and the change is going to be permanent, right? So for me, you can see my weight doesn't change too much, but I got a big belly now because working from home really let me gain more weight. So I think it's the same for the customer. So some of the changes may be is permanent. It's not going to be reversed. So I think one of the change is customer used to start to use more and more digital platform and the touch point, right? So previously, the customer tends to go to the branch to do something, to do some business, but now they don't have too much choice, right? So for a period of time, they have to do it through the apps, right? So I think this kind of change is going to be permanent. And this is also something DBS has started to prepare for quite a long time, right? So with the apps, with the digital branches, without physical staff there, so we have prepared for that. But with the customer behavior change, we can start to collect more data from the customer, right? Because customer used to use the digital platform. So I think this is a good change, at least for us. So we can use more data to have a good understanding of the customer needs and provide the good service at the right time and for the right needs, right? So probably let me give you an example with a real example. So during pandemic, people may have financial problems, right? So they may not have enough money to pay their mortgage, right? So they apply for a delay of the mortgage. Then we start to build a predict model to predict the delinquency propensity. So if we identify customers have a high propensity to be delinquent, then we can engage the customer proactively, right? So we can say, so you may face some financial problems. Do you need some help from DBS? Do you need kind of additional loan, or you can further postpone the payment, right? So I think with this, we we can understand better about customer needs, and we can give the customer a better experience, right? So we can really solve the customer's problems. So I think that's one of the big changes for, at least for DBS.
Yeah, so obviously healthcare has changed a lot in the past 12 months, and COVID-19, has really accelerated a lot of the trends that were kind of starting to take shape. So particularly things around digital transformation in healthcare. Healthcare, some people might not realize, but compared to other industries, it's been very slow in some ways to adopt a lot of digital technologies, particularly for patients and doctor kind of communications. And so virtual care, telemedicine, kind of virtual care went from something that we wanted people to try to adopt to now something that everybody has to adopt. And that's changed a lot of addressed some of the cultural challenges of how do you introduce some of these types of technologies into industries and sectors like healthcare that can be quite conservative in their nature. And so I think that we will all wait and see what the new normal looks like. But for many people in the healthcare space, there's a real belief that technology and AI-driven technologies will play a much more significant role in the way that we think about healthcare. I think it's also forced us to really confront a lot of the issues around access and equity, particularly all around the world. This has been a global pandemic. It's affected people everywhere. And we've really seen that there are huge gaps in terms of how people who gets access to quality healthcare. And again, this is a space that AI, there's a lot of hope, there's a lot of hype, but there's a lot of hope that AI really will enable us to bend the curve, so to speak, in healthcare, where we can start to really bring affordable, quality, healthcare to everyone.
All right, thank you. Professor Ashraf, would you like to share the research perspective?
Thank you. I think that was some excellent, inputs from our colleagues from industry. In academia, in the university, there's also been significant impact. I was just talking to a group of students in a different program. The issue was, how can we engage in a way that their predecessors have done before? For example, going overseas on internships, attachments, engaging with different groups of people and all that. So going forward, there are opportunities to do this using technology. So in a way, we are sort of providing opportunities for students to not just take courses online, so the teaching and learning has evolved in a way where students can interact with professors in our partner universities through courses, and not just the professors, but also other students coming together to collaboratively work and so on. So in a way, while I think a lot of us are feeling or reeling from the effects of the pandemic, there has been this kind of development. In research, you find that there's a lot of opportunity to also engage, use a lot of these new tools to work remotely and so on, and still be quite effective.
Actually, I'm serving as a consultant for a company, ByteDance. So what I can see from there is since the pandemic, the demand for the online education has been increasing sharply. So we have been working together to provide some solutions. So yeah, I agree. There's definitely some new opportunities there. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Now let me perhaps squeeze in one last question before we go to the Q&A. And perhaps I will address this question to our industry colleagues. Now, design and AI are two very big words. So perhaps you can share with us some of the potential in terms of, from an industry perspective, in terms of trends, in terms of demand or jobs. Max?
Okay, so first of all, I think really AI and data will change our service and products. So that's the first thing. So as I mentioned earlier, so now credit card all fixed, right? So you cannot change the benefit. What you can change probably is the appearance of the card. So probably in the future, I think data will enable more and more customized products, right? So for example, maybe cars can become personalized as well. So you have a few options of the benefit as long as it is so bank can make money out of it, then you can get this kind of personalized cars. Some other products may also be changed, right? So for example, so let's say mortgage. So different people may get different interest rate, right? So based on your risk preference, so based on your loan amount, so all of those can be personalized in the future, I think. So that's the first thing. It's about the product. Second is about the skill set, right? So I think this program really, so just now I look at the curriculum, I think it really offers the right curriculum to cover probably all the aspects, right? So from industry perspective, I think currently it's good, it's relatively easy to find the people with the right technical skill set. But what is more important for the industry is the capability to look at a problem from different perspectives, to have a good understanding of the business process, have a data mindset, so you can think about everything from data perspective. Before you can start some design, you really think how to collect data and how to improve your product. And also communication capabilities, right? So normally the product people, they may not understand, let's say, machine learning or those technical metrics, right? So all those is required. So I think probably in the future, we may need more such kind of people. So they may have a lot of different good understanding of different aspects of one problem. So not just the technical stuff.
Yes, I would just probably speak from a general perspective, and I think that you know, we live in a time where you know, we are in the digital age, and data is an essential ingredient, and AI, you know, is a set of technologies that are very much part of the fabric of our digital society today, and you know, will only continue to evolve. And so I think for, you know, if I was trying to predict, you know, what maybe the future looks like in just 5 years' time around this, I think that, you know, I think there's going to be you know, it'll be essential to understand what does AI mean, how AI is applied across, you know, all of business process and across all industries, and really, you know, how do we think about harnessing the potential of it? And that's where the design aspect comes in. So if I'm looking at building products or services or looking to drive innovation, AI is going to be, you know, an almost commoditized tool. It's going to be there. And so understanding the types of things that it can offer, understanding how it differs, right, and being able to speak to that and harness that, particularly through, you know, the design process, I think is going to be critical.
Right, thank you. Thank you for all the very interesting insights. Now, I see that questions are coming in, so maybe we can take a few. Okay, so this is the first question. Would there be a lot of interaction with coding in DAI? Perhaps I will, maybe Prof. Louis would like to comment on that.
Yeah, so in DAI, we focus on AI applications, right? The foundation is AI application and design innovation, right? So we do have courses that involve coding, right? So we also require you, it depends on which courses you are taking, right? Some of the courses may require you to have a good understanding about the mathematical principles besides the coding skills. Yeah.
Sorry. Maybe I'll also add on to that. On top of just coding the AI part from scratch, there are also online tools, or rather on-the-shelf tools that you can use. So especially in the area of generative designs, there are a few tools that we can make use of, and we are teaching all that in the DAI program as well.
So if I can add further, so the focus is actually using a lot of the methodologies, tools to solve problems, and not just mainly on coding as this question seems to highlight.
Okay, can we take the next question? What kind of edge would DAI students have over ISTD students if an ISTD student chooses to specialize in AI? Well, maybe I would start off with that. Now, the focus of the program is more towards AI applications. So as I mentioned just now in the 4 AI design studios, students would have the chance to embed AI in their solutions and also to apply AI to help them design. So there's a lot of applications work involved, and it covers from product design to service design to systems design and the design of the built environment. So I think this would be a kind of unique feature for the DAI program that sets us apart, and make it different. Now, obviously, we're not saying that one is better than the other. It's about the focus. It's about what you want to kind of pursue for your time with us.
And we also have the studios, right? Design studios, which is also a unique feature for the DAI program, right? So we get a chance to play with the industry data, work on real problems provided by industry companies.
What kind of job prospects await DAI graduates? So maybe I will let our industry partners to say a few words on this.
So first of all, is probably data scientist. But I think, as I mentioned earlier, so my vision is in the future we may need. So you can also see the trend in the industry. So for a project, people you may have different kind of people in the one team having different skill set. So the technical ones, right? And I think the technical one, especially when we talk about AI, is especially important. So the people need to understand product, need to understand the business process, then need to have a good communication capability so that he or she can communicate to others, share the insight, right? You know, the AI, so if you train a good model, how do you explain it's a good model? How do you explain to the business people? How do you build the confidence? So I think we see a lot of people switch from the technical side to the business side because they understand the technical part very well already. But you see very few people do the other way around, right? So almost no way to for business people to learn technical stuff. So I think in the future, probably the graduate students may have broader choice, right? So first, you may work on the data part as a data scientist, understand the company's business process, problems, understand the data structure, then understand everything, right? Even the organization structure. You can talk to a lot of people. Then it opened the gate to a lot of other roles, right? So maybe you can grow to a data science team manager. You can go to become a project manager to develop new product, or manage certain customer segment. So I think so that's my view. So initially you go to the probably relatively technical part, then you can move to other roles.
Yeah, I don't know if I can add much more to that. I think that I think just looking at the list of the kinds of job types or roles that people could take. I mean, when I look at the question, what kind of job prospects, I think just reflecting on my last answer, I think any program that's going to give you, broad exposure to the way to kind of think about problems, how technology, can really help to solve problems. That's going to, help to connect you with some of the business thinking. We saw that in the curriculum, and is also going to challenge you a little bit around, some of the questions around, ethics and others. It seems like a pretty well-rounded program that's going to have lots of, I think, opportunities for different types of roles. And I think Max kind of talked about that a bit more. So, but yeah, being able to speak to the technology, being able to interface with multidisciplinary teams, and then find perhaps, kind of areas to go deeper in and to specialize in. I think looking at the way industry trends are going, one would think that prospects are pretty good.
Right.
If I can add to that, I think one of the things that I think we would like to see, or we expect to see, is students making their own way. You'll see that students can sort of gain a focus or a strength in different areas, ranging from healthcare to various other sectors and so on. So there are possibilities for students to come up with their own solutions, which can then lead to setting up something on their own. So taking an entrepreneurial kind of pathway. So there are many opportunities for DAI graduates.
Yeah, I like the answers given so far, because, for Max, basically what he said is that regardless of just the program itself, you will never quite stay in just one row in your entire career. You will move around, and basically what you need is the good foundation prepared by your undergraduate program. And I think Fred himself is also from a very diverse background, so it's never quite just fixed on the day you enroll in a program. It kind of depends on what you want to do with the knowledge that you gain with us.
And so I just wanted to just, kind of plus one, as we say, to what Prof. Kasim said. I think, if you are entrepreneurial and you're thinking about innovation, and, there is so many kind of exciting opportunities, just walking around the campus here talking about how, design is about how do we think about solving problems in the world. AI are your kind of modern technologies. I think if, you will meet probably like-minded people, and if you've got that entrepreneurial spirit, lots of opportunities there. We need you, in fact.
Okay, would it be detrimental if I enter DAI with no background in physics, programming at all? With regard to the course curriculum, that seems heavy on these parts. Well, maybe first of all, I would say something before I hand over to my colleagues. Now, we will be there to help our students, to support our students along the way. We're very proud of our faculty to student ratio in SUTD. So all our students would have ample support to understand all the required materials. So we will not just throw you to the deep end and kind of expect you to kind of come up with solutions on your own by yourself.
So if I can add on to this, you'd have seen that the first couple of terms are actually a common program for all SUTD students. So it's basically to bring them up to a level which could then be a strong foundation when they go into the different majors, whether it's DAI or any other major. So in a way, the program itself, through the Freshmore portion of it, will prepare students very effectively.
So if I choose DAI, what skills will I graduate with? Well, I think first off, you will learn about the design process. So we will teach you all the different techniques to develop a new idea into something that you can prototype and sell potentially. And also obviously on the AI skills. Now on top of that, I also want to emphasize that we have a flexible elective scheme so that students can actually mix and match courses that they want and specialize in the areas that they want. So we will be providing advice on that as well.
So if I can add to that, if you have looked again at the curriculum, you'll see that it's very sort of different from many of the other traditional programs. If you look at the studios, that's where students will have the opportunity to engage directly with industries, to look at problems, ask the right questions, collect data, analyze, and then sort of come up with design solutions using AI, and not just AI tools and methodologies, but other complementary tools. So these are very important skills, for going into a very good career path beyond graduation.
Will there be emphasis on using AI to design products for other aspects other than healthcare? Well, yes. Yes, the answer is yes. In fact, we're working with a few industry partners, and the kind of projects that they are kind of offering are quite diverse. So it's not just in the healthcare sector, definitely. So one example I can give you would be an airport handling project where you can kind of take cargoes and kind of deploy resources accordingly. So there are various possibilities available.
Very interestingly, let me share with you, one of my PhD students who works on AI has developed techniques, methodologies using AI to help people to sort of find the kind of maybe fashion clothing that would interest them, excite them. So there are possibilities in many different domains for AI to make an impact beyond just healthcare.
Yeah, and if I can just also add on that, there are also AI techniques whereby the output, the applications are transferable across industry. So it's not going to be fixated to just one industries and lock you in. How does DAI differ from other SUTD degree programs? Maybe I'll let Professor Ashraf answer this.
Well, DAI is a very new program. As you can see, and we said earlier, if you look at the curriculum, the focus, while it has very good foundation that will bring you to understand key concepts that are necessary to do, to focus on AI, it also sort of allows you to sort of engage on solving real-world problems. That being said, many other programs also do that, but in different domains. So our focus is on design and AI.
Right. So I wish we have more time, but there's another session coming out soon. So once again, I would like to thank all our panel speakers today for joining us, and hopefully you'll be back for future events. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.